Hi, it's Hazel. Welcome to my channel, Hazel Anaka Design. I am glad to be here, and I hope you are too. I want to take time to thank new and returning subscribers. That definitely is what keeps me going. So I continue to be in post-surgery recovery mode. I'm using some of the time, the available or the resting time, to study some of the books that I have, and maybe to be a little more adventurous in who I'm checking out on YouTube. You know how on the, I'm not sure how it is on a phone, but certainly on a laptop, there are, or on a TV for that matter, there are suggestions and channels that sort of come into one's view or come to your attention based on, I guess, what you have been watching and so on. Anyway, I discovered, and clearly so have many other people, I think she's got 10 or 12,000 subscribers, Jackie Hernandez. And I don't know a great deal about her. I just basically watched the one video, but I was intrigued by it. And for me, when I'm intrigued by something, I try to jump right on it and do it. So what you see here is a 9x12 piece of mixed media paper. And I'll just show you what I used. So I have this Canson watercolor pad, cold press, 9x12, 140 pounds. So of course, cold press means that there is more texture to the page. Hot press, it's like if you had an iron. I mean, that's how I remembered. If you had a hot iron and were pressing something, obviously it would end up smoother than, it would end up smooth. The other thing that I had on hand is this Strathmore mixed media coil book. Mixed media paper, vellum surface, acid-free, medium weight for mixed media sketches, wet and dry media. 9x12, 117 pounds. So this is, obviously lighter weight. But I thought it would be fine to try this idea with mixed media paper. Now, Jackie, in her video, was basically saying that many of us are stymied, intimidated, whatever, by the blank page. Same thing is common to writers, to be honest. Anyway, so what she had done, and I'll just show you some of the ones that I completed. And I have these big clips on here just to help with setting those folds. So she started out her video by saying that, she's done more art, a daily art practice since making these tiny little booklets than previously, because number one, they fit neatly in one's purse. So, and she showed spreads that she had done while, sitting in her car waiting for her to pick up her kids, or, we're all caught at some point waiting and killing time. So maybe rather than playing spider solitaire, we could create some art. So basically, what she had done was talk about, maybe I should, I think this was the first one I had done. Okay, so if I open this up, you will see that it is a 9x12 piece of paper. Now this is a thicker one. Now, we all know from folding paper that the thicker it is, the harder it is to get nice sharp creases and to have everything turn out perfectly, plumb and square. we also know that quite often, despite our best intentions, maybe our score lines are a smidge out, or we didn't quite hold our paper just so on the scoreboard. So there are always those little micro, not micro adjustments, but those micro outages, so to speak. Anyway, so how she does this, and I followed the same thing. I'll just go back to this one. So I basically took 3 sheets of paper out of each of those pads. So the heavier one, the lighter one. And all I did was take my watercolors. And again, I didn't bring my, don't have my Winsor Newton tube paint, artist quality, blah, blah, blah. I was basically using my, well, one of them is, I guess, artist quality. The others are just, the regular tins of color that we have access to, like Pelican and Yarka. And I laid down some color. Now, I probably should have left one of these pieces just at that stage to show you that those watercolor bases I created were definitely nothing to write home about. In fact, I thought, have you ever held a brush before? It looked a wee bit discouraging. So I basically did 6 watercolor backgrounds. Then I went back in and using either my Distress Oxide and or my Ranger's Archival ink, and I added some marks with stencils. And I will work on this one to show you the scoring and the folding. But, if you can try to see beyond the stencil layers, you can see that the bottom was pretty, yeah, that's a technical term. Now I've forgotten what order I did these in, but I think this might have been the last one. So maybe my technique was improving a bit. I don't know. Eye of the beholder, I guess. So I will just show you each of these. And then, so this one, basically, I used let me just reach for it. Sorry, guys. Oh, this is my Sakura palette. And this one has these metallic colors. So on this particular one, I used that, the gold, and the copper. So if you're catching a hint of some sparkle, you'll know why. That's what this one was. So I'll put that aside. This one, all I had as my watercolor base was the pink, and I think that might have been out of this pad as well, or why do I keep calling it palette? I think that might have been this one. What are they calling this, by the way? Fluorescent Rose. So you can see here I use several colors, a couple different blues, a green, and I think 2 different sort of pinky colors. Then I did this one, which was, again, one color, and that might have been I don't know anymore which palette I used, but it's immaterial. Naturally, you would be using what you have. And then one more. Again, I've got clips on there. Oh, I think this was my second one. And you won't be surprised. I mean, if you know me at all, you won't be surprised to see that I've used these colors. So we know that these kinds of things are called Zines, Z-I-N-E. And typically when we make them using lightweight paper, we do, well, let me do it. I'm not going to do the typical way, but I will, tell you how to do it. If you decide to do, first of all, I wanted to make, oh, and I still have them here. I made some prototypes just using regular scrapbooking paper. Okay, this is the typical way that we do it. And you can see, I should have trimmed that, I guess, to make it fold a little better. This is really lightweight, and typically we do our cut just in those, between those two, just in the center of the page. So I did add the notes to this. I think on one of them I did, oh yeah, Jackie Hernandez. And then two other ways of doing it. So the thing I just showed you now is not the ideal way to do this, because the thicker the paper, the more, the harder it will be to get a decent, clean, sharp fold. Okay, I told you the paper is 9 by 12, and you can see that as it gets wet, I didn't tape it down or anything when I was doing the wash. In fact, I removed it off its block, which probably, you know, would have maybe resulted in something flatter had I not done that. And I could have ironed these, I guess, but I was watching the hockey game, so I couldn't leave the Oilers unattended. Okay, so 9, we're going to score at the 4.5 mark, and this is the one, and this is going lengthwise. So I'm using a scoreboard and a stylus. To be honest, it would be possible to score without a scoreboard, but it probably won't be pretty because it's hard enough to do this with the right tools, so to speak. And that's not to discourage you from trying. That's just the reality. You're probably not going to get the same sort of results by using the wrong tools. You know, there's that expression in personal development. If your only tool is a hammer, you see every problem as a nail. So a smart way of saying, you know, I guess that the more tools we have in our toolbox, the more versatile, the more able we are to handle different challenges. And to make it very literal, we don't need every tool under the sun, don't get me wrong there. But sometimes you just need the right tools. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so then you flip the paper, and you'll notice that I scored on both sides of the paper. And again, that's just an effort to try to get the folds as sharp as they can possibly be. Okay, so when you turn it to the 12-inch side, you then score at 3. And I don't know what the heck it was. Like, I mean, I used watercolor paint. I did not use acrylic paint, and yet somehow it seemed like something in the paper was making my stylus just jump and out of place. And again, you see that I keep trying to make sure that everything stays lined up. Okay, 3, 6, 9, which means now we've created these 8 panels. Now, another thing, if I want to do it on the other side, but if I flip it the way you would normally just default to flipping it, the lines may not line up again. So I'm going to flip it like so, which means that the edge that was against here is still the edge that's against here. If I would have flipped it, you know, turned it like so, chances are it might not be exactly where I want it to be. And I know, for those of you who are a little more what's the word? For those of you maybe that hate measuring and aren't too worried about precision, you're probably thinking, what the hell is she talking about? Like, come on, it's not rocket science. And it's true, it's not. I'm just saying that sometimes attention to detail and precision matters. Okay, so now I've done all 4 score lines on both sides. I'm gonna have a little accident there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, and look at that. So clearly the paper is not quite whatever. So if I try folding that without trimming, there's no way I'm going to be able to make this right. So what I will do is, where is my pencil? I'm just going to make a mark, a light pencil line, so that I can trim this. And don't ask me why that happened. I believe I was in the right. You saw how carefully I tried to line that up. So I'm just going to cut this off to minimize the problems with folding. Okay, so that's that. Let's do the verticals now. Now on probably, and I will do the other side as well, but I think it must have been on the heavier paper. There was some cracking on the folds. That is probably not the end of the world, and it's just reality. Now, when I was painting, you know, full-scale paintings, like using full sheets of watercolor paper, quite often I was using Arches, 300-pound paper. So you can imagine how heavy that is. And there's no way that you can fold. You know, you couldn't ever use anything that heavy for this idea. And nor do you need to. Like, I mean, no need for that. Okay. I don't know. I guess 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Which side is easier for you to see? So going back to these, you saw that I showed, was it this one? Yeah, this one. This, and again, I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I can take Jackie Hernandez's word that this type of a cut doesn't result in as good a finished product as another one that she showed, which was this one. So rather than cutting from here to here on that center fold, she cuts from one end like 3/4 of the way across. So you can see that that goes together a lot better. Now this paper is obviously thinner than what I'm about to cut here, but the other, well, I'll show you. So I don't think it, which side will I see better? Probably this side. So I'm just going to cut along that fold 3/4 of the way across. And this is to give you what she calls a portrait accordion. Portrait accordion. So now what a person basically does is fold it up like so. Now you can see, look at that. And you saw how carefully I did it. Look at that. So sometimes you can try it not the other way and see if you get a better finished product. So this is kind of a little bit resistant here. You saw me, score several times. I suppose. Now, the other thing that I didn't do here, because I wanted to get on with this, and of course, why do one if you can do 6? The other thing is that quite often, I think in all of her examples, she painted on both sides. Now, this white strip here would be a heck of a lot less visible if there was color on it. So I suppose it would have been smart. Now she tells me it would have been smart to have painted, to put a wash on both sides. And I think clearly before I start using these, I will, because I think that would just obviously make those white things disappear. So because this still wants to sort of do its own thing, I will add some clips to it for a while. You know, it never helps. It never hurts. It never helps. It never hurts to sort of try to train things. Okay, so let me show you the folding a couple more times. And so I think another reason that that Jackie likes this is that there are actually 4 surfaces, or 4 sort of spreads. 1, 2, 3, 4. These guys need to be put under a weight, I guess, of some sort. So again, and clear, this is thinner, this is thicker. You can see that the mixed media paper, which is the lighter weight paper, is kind of a little bit more pliable. So again, because I was fooling around with this last night, it kind of defaults back to the way I had it folded. But you saw, this one that we just did, you saw that I tried it both ways to find out which one worked slightly better. And again, you know, we're not doing this to create works of art that are going to hang in the Metropolitan Museum of Art or the National Gallery of Canada. This is just a mechanism that is going to facilitate, hopefully, a daily art practice, mark making, experimentation, playing, and in tiny, easy, bite-sized chunks. Okay, now this one, let me put a clip on these guys and continue to try to tame them. And I will find, although I guess I can't lift yet, but what I will try to do, you know, it's surprising how much heavy stuff we actually have in our studios. And when you've got those post-surgical orders, you know, not to lift. Actually, I thought it was 6 weeks. I read something yesterday, it says 6 to 12 weeks, so my goodness. Okay, so this is the third prototype here, and this is what she called landscape accordion. So sometimes you might want your paper to go the other way. So now you probably can't read anything I wrote here, but I note to myself, same 9 by 12, same score lines, but cut like so. And I drew the little diagram here. You cut here, here, and here. So you cut here, here, and here. So in other words, alternating. And it was like, OMG, I could not for the life of me figure out how to fold it. And then eventually, okay, that's how it goes. I had to watch her fold that so many times. Now, because I've only painted one side, the front and back cover, so to speak, are white. But you can see now, if I wanted my whatever to go horizontally, this is the way it would go. And I probably should have done a second one. See, there's that little break in the paper there. So what is the next step with these? Well, I think before I go any further, what I'm going to do today, after this video, is add color to the back side of these, so I end up with two colored surfaces. So let's use this one that we just worked on. So, and I will link Jackie Hernandez's, or I'll list her in my description box, and I will hopefully link the video. And again, most of us have probably done this in conjunction with our, excuse me, paper crafting or, mini journal making or whatever, because this is certainly not new. Jackie didn't invent it. But suppose and I do have to leave home today. It's surprising, they said don't drive for 2 weeks, so I clearly am following that. Well, let's just say I cheated one day. And it's surprising. Driving engages parts of your body and your mind and your concentration. And even if I've been driving forever and a day, yeah, you become aware of how much it actually takes out of you. But if I get the background done and it dries, I could actually put this in my purse because I might have a bit of waiting time today. So what now? Well, basically, you would have, if you're like me, you love little pouches and little zippered things and little leather things and fabric things and little, whatever, to stash stuff in. So I don't have anything within reach. So what I could put, or what I would put in my little pouch, would be some gel pens, probably some fine liners. Do I have any here? I've got something like this, metallic marker. This is just from the dollar store. Any kind of pens that you might use for mark making. I bought this at the art store. Winsor Newton Pro Marker Caramel. Ugh. So it's got that, notice it, oh yeah, and a chisel tip on this end. So I could make up a little pouch with some of these supplies. Now the rest of this is mainly pens. Yeah, I don't have my other stuff within reach, which is strange. This is just a Staedtler Cool Roller, very fine. I don't think it gives the size on here. But, and again, you know, maybe it's crazy to do this, but suppose I just wanted to highlight these stencil things. So isn't it better to be sitting in a waiting room or in your car doing this rather than playing a game? Now I'm trying to be pretty precise there, but there's nothing that says I have to. So imagine doing that on every one of these panels. That's a lot of potential for creating little mini pieces of art. Now, this, of course, unless you've cut your own stencils, this would not be scannable because it was somebody else's stencil design. But it, you know, the only limits here are, I guess, your imagination and the tools that you have available to you. But a person could easily, you know, go in with a white gel pen to create a different look, Caran d'Ache crayons, Stabilo all pencils, could splatter. No, I guess I did a bit of splattering just with the paint. I guess the only thing to remember is that the watercolor itself is not stable. If it was to get wet, it would run. I could, and if you watch Jackie's video, you'll see that she did do some actual her own drawings on there as well. And again, does a person want to make every one of these panels different? Probably not. Probably want, but again, I'm saying that that's my own thought. Whatever you do, of course, is you're the master of your own domain. I think it would be good to be consistent panel to panel, so there's a certain cohesion among them. If a person, you know, opens this up and looks at it as a whole, I have to say this is pretty darn fun. And of course, there's nothing that says a person couldn't add some acrylic paint marks on here. You know, the classic trick of dipping the wooden end of your paintbrush, the wooden end of your paintbrush into a little puddle of paint to create dots. The smaller the brush handle, the tinier the dots. The more the paint builds up on the end of the paintbrush, the bigger the dots will get. The bigger the diameter of the brush, the bigger the dots will be. So, you know, and of course, it's always about layers too. If I have added these black outlines, and again, didn't pick any sort of a special pen, even though I do have them. I just picked what was handy. Person could even use an ordinary pencil for that matter. There's nothing to say that a person couldn't add watercolor, another layer over whatever decorating is being done. So, and how do you know when you're done? I guess when you say you're done. Now you can see that where I was a wee bit shakier, I could change the look of this by fixing my maybe little wobbly line by thickening it. Makes a whole new look here. And again, probably there won't be a cast of thousands watching you make your mark making, so probably yours will go better than mine is going. And once I've decided to thicken some of the lines, now I'm deliberately doing that. One of the things that she mentioned using, I don't know if she got into the brand name or not, but it was some sort of a watercolor pencil. And she said she didn't care for it. And she also said to pack a sharpener because, of course, they blunt quite easily going over watercolor paper. And I'm not obviously going to make you sit here and watch this whole thing, but I must say it does seem a little hard to stop. Let's alternate. Kind of maybe we make one of the longer ones thicker. So I'm looking forward to reaching for this. Whoa, that's a crooked one. Now we have to see, and I'm going over the score lines too, which is a bit of a bumpy process there. And of course, oh my goodness, I seem to be getting worse as this goes along. I should stop while I'm ahead, people. But do I know? Part of that is a type A personality, I think. Okay, let's do this last one. Okay, so we can see that this panel, now I could go back and darken some of this up, because I mean this is a very fine point. I do have thicker ones that are, I'm just making that worse. Okay, so, I missed one here, but you can see that I've done that, I've done this, I've done that, slightly different. So suppose I was working on this one. Maybe on this one, what I choose to do are make these little hash marks. So that automatically is going to give us a different look and some variety. And I suppose it's, artist choice as to whether or not a person then goes back in and outlines it. I started out parallel to the straight edge, so that's what I'm going to continue, but there's nothing that says these couldn't have been, done at an angle. And I'm trying to, as much as humanly possible, to keep the lines the same width apart. However, let me just show you. Oh, see, I have a little, what do I do here? Well, maybe I have to continue to the edge. Now, that's a bit of an angle, not a right angle, but maybe I start at this end. You know, there's something very Zen, meditative, very pleasing about doing this. It's like when, when adult coloring books, okay, no, I don't, too bad I picked, well, it's blue, so I guess that's why I'm doing it. I mean, that's the existing color, so, but let's suppose that on this one, I widen the spacing. And hopefully you can see what I'm doing. If I want to keep my little self-imposed rule about angles, so you can see that wider spacing creates a different look, and again, adds some visual interest. So I'm going to stop there because I think you should run, don't walk, to your stash of, hey, let's see what happens if I just use one of, oh, this is, oh, chalk writer, let's use this one instead. What were to happen if I added a gold center to some of these? Run, don't walk to your sketchbook paper. I mean, I would think at the very least you want something that says mixed media. Because if you add watercolor to something that it's intended for dry media paper, the paper is going to abrade and start, what would be the word? Not burring, but, you know, start shredding almost. And it would not be a good result. And you don't want to put this much effort into something that is going to sort of disintegrate. So at minimum, use mixed media paper. 9 by 12 makes the math easy. When I first started making these little prototypes, I just used copy paper. Well, then, I realized, well, 8.5 by 11 is not divisible by, you know, it's not easily divisible, especially when you're relying on a scoreboard that's marked out in eighths of an inch. So needless to say, and it only took 3 pieces of paper to realize that. Needless to say, that is now scrap paper that will work its way into other projects. However, 9 by 12 makes sense math-wise. What are other parting words of advice do I have? Do it and have fun. And maybe do both sides before you start the scoring and the folding, because I don't know what's going to happen other than it'll either smooth out some of the wavy parts of this paper, because then both sides will have had the effect of the water. And you get rid of, if the whole point here is to have a base and not be confronted with the white paper, then it makes sense to do both sides right off the bat. And if I wouldn't have been like doing a gazillion, I probably would have done that yesterday. So that's what I intend to do. And yeah, periodically, maybe I'll show you how these are progressing. I've got enough here to work on for a long time, and hopefully we'll try some different techniques with it. But I do want to let you go so that you can begin your background washes and make some of these little tiny zines for yourself and your purse. Thanks, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.